Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Burnout Paradise Remastered for the PlayStation 4. This title was sent to me by EA under the Game Changers program so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, Burnout Paradise is an arcade open world racer. And what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that the second you start playing the game, you're essentially dumped into this city, which is Paradise City. They give you a car and they say, hey, here you go have fun, go do races, go do events, go do whatever the hell you want. And you get this license thing, which is kind of like a driver's license, essentially. And the more events you complete, the more things, the more races that you win, the more takedowns that you perform, the more bonus stuff that you find throughout the open world map, the more points you get towards your driver's license, which then gets upgraded and unlocks new cars for you to play with. Now, this particular version of the game also comes with all of the DLC cars, as well as the special DLC area called Big Surf Island. And pretty much every bit of DLC that was released for the original game is available to you from the get-go in the remaster. So if you guys were wondering whether or not DLC is included, yes, it is. And the cool thing about this game is that it doesn't really try to steer you towards any specific direction. It more so just kind of lets you go out into the world and do your own thing. So if you just feel like driving around for a while, you're free to do so. If you feel like actually participating in a race, you just drive to an intersection. Usually there's races on pretty much almost all intersections of the game. So you just go in there, you press L2 plus R2, and you start a race. Or maybe it's a different type of event. Maybe it's not just a race, because, you know, race is just like, okay, go from here to here and try to finish in first place. But then there are other events, like there's road rage, which consists of you actually taking out other cars, running them off the road. And, you know, that to me personally is pretty fun. Then there's also the Marked Man, which is a different type of event where there are cars trying to take you out. And you have to get to a specific location before you get wrecked. I think it's 3 times. You get like 3 lives, which is the amount of times other cars can wreck you. But you can also repair your car in between. So basically what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of activities that you can do. It's not just about racing. It is definitely about going fast and crashing into other cars, throwing them off the road, and just like complete arcade driving. Okay, I'm not talking about any type of simulation here. The physics are completely unrealistic. The crashing is pretty awesome, to be completely honest, because you can actually crash into a wall and you see the car compact and just become completely destroyed, or you can throw other cars out of the track and you see that in slow motion and that kind of stuff. And you guys know from what I've told you during Need for Speed Payback, I'm a sucker for that type of stuff, which is why I was able to get into the game when I originally played it. And to see it in the remastered version and be made available for the PlayStation 4 is something that I always like, because as you guys know, I like the fact that they are constantly remastering games. And I know some people are not into that stuff, and it's like, look, I understand maybe you've played this game God knows how many years ago, maybe you're kind of done with it, and you wish they would actually do something new, which I guess is what a lot of us expected to get out of Need for Speed. Unfortunately, Need for Speed Payback turned out to have all of those loot boxes and other nonsense garbage that they implemented in there that prevented a lot of people, including me, to really fully enjoy the game. Well, the good news is that this particular game, and especially the remaster, has no such thing. It comes with all the DLC included. You can unlock all the cars through play. You can unlock everything you need by just actually playing the game. You know, this was back in the day where arcade racers were actually made for you to just have fun, for you to just enjoy. And in a way, I'm actually surprised that EA released this game at this point in time. The game is coming out tomorrow, I believe, because it's like, it's so short after Need for Speed Payback. You'd figure they would still be developing content for Need for Speed Payback, but instead they're like, hey, here's this remaster of this old game that you guys apparently really enjoyed, because as far as I'm aware, this is one of the best arcade racers of all time. Again, arcade racer. For those of you that don't know what that means, it means it's not simulation. It's not like Gran Turismo. It's not like Forza Motorsport. It's more in line with like Forza Horizon, but even then, it's even more arcadey than that. It's even more exaggerated. And that is fun. It's essentially the essence of fun and freedom. Because like I said at the start of this video, this is an open world game. So you will go to an intersection, for instance, and there will be an event there. There will be a race. You do that race. Once you complete that race, you're going to be in a completely different part of the map. There's actually no loading screens in between the races themselves. You start from that point. They just load in a bunch of AI opponents for you and go. Just like straight up go. It's just This is one of those games that you just pick up and you start playing and you just play until you're pretty much tired. That's the way it works. You just go from event to event seamlessly. There's not really that many things stopping you at any point, like forcing you in a specific direction. Like, say, for instance, oh, I feel like doing this stunt event. Boom, you go, you do the stunt event. You're done with the stunt event. You're going to be in a completely different area of the map. There's going to be different events there. You're going to pick up another race. It's going to take you to a different location of the map. From there, you can pick up a different race. Takes you to yet another location. But basically, the thing that I'm getting at here is that the gameplay just kind of flows in Burnout Paradise, which is one of the reasons why I liked it so much, because you can just keep on playing and you don't have to worry about, oh, do I need to do that specific task? Do I need to do that specific thing? Do I need to optimize my car in this way? It's more like, dude, is my car going fast? Good. I want it to go a little bit faster. Maybe I'll get this other new car, or maybe I'll do this specific event that actually upgrades my car, because there are certain events that will upgrade certain cars, and it's just very satisfying to drive around. Now let's talk about the actual remaster aspect of it. I already mentioned it comes with all the DLC, but something that you always expect from a remaster is a revamp on the visuals. To be completely honest, that was probably one of the things that disappointed me the most. While you do have 4K, if you have a PlayStation 4 Pro, which happens to be my case, I played it in 4K. I don't have a 4K capture card, so you're just watching 1080p footage, but I did play it in 4K. It looks pretty good. There's not that much difference, to be completely honest, at least on my TV. Then again, my TV is a pretty cheap 4K TV, so it's whatever. But I didn't see too much difference between 4K and 1080p. It does look a little bit sharper, I guess, but ultimately the game looks fantastic in 1080p. 60 FPS, though, that is the real important thing. I didn't really see any drops in frames. Like, sure, whenever there's a slow-mo, you might think, oh, it looks like the frames drop, but it's actually like, it's more like the frames are just like slowed down to show you the slow-mo of the actual scene. But the reason I was disappointed with the visuals is the fact that even though we get 4K, they don't give us something that I find more important than 4K, which is HDR. At least if there is HDR, I couldn't figure out how to actually navigate through the menus to turn it on. And that's the other downside. Like, when you actually start going into the menus of the game, like say you want to go into the options menu to maybe turn off the music, which I had to do because all the tracks in this game are licensed, and if I had music on here, I was going to get a copyright ID, maybe even a copyright strike, who the hell knows. So that's why I can't show you the music. What I can tell you is that I like the music quite a bit. It's like 90s rock, which is pretty cool. You got some Gun Roses in there, naturally. Paradise City. Take me down to the Paradise City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Oh, won't you please take me home? I love that track. But anyway, there's plenty of more tracks from around that era if you guys enjoy that kind of stuff. And it's like, so the tracks are great. The audio is great. The visuals, I wish they would have improved on it a little bit more than what they did. I mean, sure, it's sharper, it's HD, it's 1080p, or it's 4K depending on your console, but why not the HDR? Come on, really put in a little bit more work. It feels like it's just a straight up port almost, you know? It's just like, sure, it looks better than the previous versions that we had, but I kind of expected a little bit more. Still, it doesn't take away from the fact that it is a fantastic game to play if you haven't played it yet. When it comes to arcade racers, this is pretty much the gold standard as far as I'm aware. Because, I mean, Need for Speed Payback had a couple of issues. I mean, and as a matter of fact, that's a good comparison term, right? Because, like, when you got to Need for Speed, I told you guys, oh, there's these things that you got to find, these wrecked cars and stuff. But usually when you went around in the world of Need for Speed Payback, it felt like it was very limiting because, like, oh, there's these rocks over here, I can't go there. In this game, you very rarely encounter those kinds of limitations. Usually, you're just finding shortcuts everywhere. You're friggin' flying off bridges. You're jumping everywhere. Everything is a goddamn adventure in this city. There's so much more freedom as to the places that you can go to and all of the different ways in which you can get to those places and all of the different jumps that you can perform in those places. And there's usually no situation where you're like, oh, I'm stuck in this little location here because there's these type of rocks that clearly my car can't climb. So even though the more modern games might have better physics simulation, better details, better, you know, just even more realistic looking cars and all of these things and better audio even, it's like they're not as much fun, which is, it's interesting that the other game is so much less realistic. The visuals are not as good as the visuals that we have now, but the game itself is just more fun because, again, it's all about how much fun it actually is. And again, This particular title is not going to be for everyone, because I know that a lot of people probably got squeezed as much fun as they could have possibly ever squeezed out of Burnout Paradise already, because I know that a lot of people have spent quite a few hours on this game. So maybe you don't really feel the need to go back into it. But if you've never played it before, if you've never played Burnout Paradise before, and you like arcade racers, then I would definitely advise you to pick it up, because there's so many hours of content. There's so much fun to be had in this game. It also has multiplayer, even though I haven't really played multiplayer on it, to be honest. But there's just so much stuff to do and so much fun to be had that I would highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet. If you've played it yet, though, just be aware it's basically an upscale in the visuals and all the DLC included. Not much else there. So if you were expecting like, oh, I want better physics simulation, I want better HDR visuals and better, if you wanted way upgraded visuals, it's not really there. It's more of an upscale. Like if you notice some of the cars from regular traffic that are not racing cars, they just look super boxy. They look like they came from friggin' Need for Speed 1 all those years ago. So any car that is not important to the race is not going to be super detailed. Anything that is not super important is not going to be super detailed. The cinematics in particular actually feel jarring because they're really, really old. I mean, these are pre-rendered cinematics from the PlayStation 3 days, so those are going to feel really old. But again, the gameplay that is there is still super solid. Whether or not you're going to enjoy it, whether or not you should play it is going to depend. One, have you played it before? And in that case, you're immediately going to know whether or not you want to jump back into Burnout Paradise. Or two, did you not play it before and do you like arcade racers? Then definitely jump in, have fun. You're going to have a blast. I can totally recommend this game without any issues. But either way, let me know what you thought about the video in the comment section below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.